Good morning, Kenya. Rise and shine to the morning momentum, your daily dose of a comprehensive rundown of the top stories making the headlines on the papers. It is the 24th day of February 2026, and this is a daily compendium of local and international news, human interest stories, current affairs, and expert opinion. My name is Alphonce Ouma. Use the hashtag The Morning Momentum at Younib Media TV at Alphonse Albakwekwe. This morning, it is an unhealthy mix that is the elephant in the room on the front page of the Daily Nation. What is killing Kenyans? Now, inside the disease and system failures driving preventable deaths. Now, Kenya's 2025 population situation analysis report, a comprehensive assessment of the health and demographic landscape, paints a troubling picture. Kenyans are living longer, with life expectancy climbing to nearly 67 years, but the journey to old age is increasingly plagued by preventable diseases. Chronic illnesses now account for 40% of all deaths in the country, and the health system is stretched with scarce resources. This whole story is covered for you on an article, Healthy Nation magazine. Now, on page 6 this morning, Wamatangi appears before Senate despite governor's defiance. Kiambu Governor Kimani Wamatangi is the third county boss to break ranks with the Council of Governors over appearance before Senate watchdog committees. And on page 4 this morning, opposition steps up pressure on Kenya Kwanza in Gusii tour. Now, the united opposition leaders swept through Bomet, Kisii, and Nyamira County yesterday, telling President Ruto to read the warning signs that his time in the presidency was up. Party chiefs Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, and Fred Matiang'i asked Rift Valley and Nyanza residents to back their cause. That story is augmented for you on page 4 of the Nation this morning. On page 19, famine. Appeal for surplus maize from North Rift to feed starving Kenyans. Now, the Kenya Red Cross Society has asked farmers in Uasin Gishu and Trans Nzoia counties to donate surplus maize to famine-stricken Kenyans. The aid agency has offered to transport and distribute. Political interference and negligence blamed for Coast General's decline. Now, this is about a crippled Coast General. The hospital is said to be grappling with a severe staff shortage, placing a heavy burden on the health workers. 700 million shillings is the amount that the Social Health Authority allegedly owes the Coast General Teaching and Referral Hospital. That is what is on page 2 of the Nation this morning. And on page 3, patients suffer as War Memorial Hospital's door remains shut. Now, it's all about inconvenience. Closure has forced patients to travel long distances to access services. Court orders directing the reopening of the facility have gone unheeded by the county and the hospital management. In 2024, the hospital was closed following a disagreement over the ownership of the land it sits on, and that story is augmented for you on page 3 of the Nation this morning. On page 4, ditch Ruto, opposition tells Kenyans. Now, former Interior CS endorsed as spokesperson of the Gusii community. The United Opposition principals, Tom Gusii and Bomet, promise residents equal treatment when they form the next government after the 2027 polls. That story is augmented for you on page 4. On page 5 this morning, Gachagua's mounting political minefields. Now, disputes and rivalries threaten leaders' ambition, and former deputy president faces resistance in nearly all regions across the country. That story is beefed up for you on page 5. On page 6 this morning, I must account for resources. Wamatangi defies the Council of Governors order. Governors have accused 4 members of the Senate County Public Accountants Committee of extortion. Governors say that the people of Kiambu elected him, not the Council of Governors. That story is covered for you on page 6 comprehensively. On page 7, change law to protect widows' inheritance rights after remarriage. Judge urges a parliament. Now, let's delve into this. A judge has asked lawmakers to fix unfair laws that affect widows who remarry under the Law of Succession Act. The High Court in 2022 declared unconstitutional parts of the law that limited a widow's inheritance if she remarried. However, Justice Ruben Nyakundi said many women are still afraid to claim their rights because of Kenya's patriarchal culture. And that story is augmented for you on page 7. Now, on page 9 this morning, terror cases. DPP unveils cause for prosecutors. Course incorporates lessons from complex trials in bioterrorism case involving plots to deploy anthrax. New program to ensure consistency and coherence across the country. That story is augmented for you on page 9. On page 10 this morning, 520 railways staff decry pension quote-unquote discrimination. Current and ex-employees were kept on short contracts for 3 years. RVR took over rail operations under a 25-year concession in November 2006, but the deal was terminated by the High Court in 2017. That story is augmented for you on page 10. Now, on page 12 this morning, grief and danger after boy collapses and dies at school. Parents took the body to the school as they demanded answers from the administration. Angry parents say her son did not complain of any ailment before leaving the school. That story is augmented for you on page 12 right there. On page 13, family demands probe into man's death. Now, relatives say Ekure had received and reported threats on his life from a colleague in Kapenguria office. Ekure was found unconscious and taken to hospital but died while being treated. That story is on page 13. On the expert opinion this morning, repossess and secure grabbed varsities land. Now, institutions of higher learning are major national assets meant to enable the training of high-level manpower the country needs for its development. However, these institutions are facing a significant challenge that threatens their ability to fulfill this key mandate. Cartels eyeing the institution's assets for personal gain have made the task of running them much more difficult. To help realize their huge potential, universities and tertiary colleges were allocated huge chunks of land. At least 8 public universities do not have title deeds, transfer documents, or other legal proof of land ownership. And as a result, their land has been easily encroached upon. You'll catch up with that opinion on page 15. Let's move on and take a look at more stories here on the Daily Nation. Now we look at a DN2 article or powering SMEs. Now, today is on the Healthy Nation. What's really killing Kenyans inside the diseases and healthcare system failures driving preventable deaths? You'll catch up with that comprehensive coverage on page 4 and page 5 about those diseases. Now, let's move on and take a look at county news now here on the Daily Nation. We take a look at what's happening on the counties this morning. We start with the drought. Now, donate food to starving Kenyans, farmers urged. Thousands of families are adopting desperate coping strategies to survive hard times. Kenya Red Cross has appealed to farmers in Uasin Gishu, Trans Nzoia to give out surplus grain. 9 counties in drought alert phase, including Wajir, Garissa, Kilifi, Marsabit, Kitui, Kwale, Kajiado, Isiolo, and Tana River. At a glance, 3.3 million people face food shortage in northern Kenya. An estimated 3.3 million people, particularly in northern Kenya, are experiencing high levels of acute food insecurity despite a projected maize harvest of 7 million bags last season, up from 67 million in 2024, partly due to government-subsidized fertilizer. Some 742,000 children under 5 and more than 109,000 pregnant or breastfeeding women are projected to require treatment for acute malnutrition between April 2025 and March 2026. Let's go to Baringo County. Deadly grip of illicit alcohol visits devastation on families. Senator seeks stricter penalties as frustrated locals say suspects are being let off easily after being arrested. 21. New policy adopted in June 2025 aims to raise the legal drinking age to 21 years. Now, also this morning, it's decks over desks as floating campus docks in Mombasa. Now, when 19-year-old Ali Johnson boarded the MV World Odyssey in Bangkok, she expected a long, perhaps monotonous journey across the Indian Ocean. Instead, the American university student found herself in the middle of a floating campus, a 175-meter vessel where classrooms have scenic ocean views and the syllabus changes with every port of call. Miss Johnson, elementary education major from Washington, D.C., is one of 609 passengers including 484 students and three Kenyans who docked at the port of Mombasa on the morning of February 18th. For those voyagers part of the semester at sea program, the arrived curriculum. For the aspiring teacher, the voyage has provided a unique perspective on global education systems. While sailing between India and Kenya, her coursework dove deep into the host country's ongoing educational reforms. That story is augmented for you on page 20. That's quite interesting. Imagine attending your lectures in the middle of an ocean with the scenic ocean views. Let's take a look at international news. We go to retaliation. Mexican army kills drug lord El Mencho in US-backed raid. Highways were blockaded with burning cars and businesses torched in several states. Cartel boss died in custody after being injured in Sunday military operation. That story is augmented for you on page 22. Briefly, in Copenhagen, Greenland says no to Trump's hospital ship offer. Greenland's Prime Minister Fredrik Nielsen said on Sunday, no thanks to US President Donald Trump. Trump's idea of sending a hospital ship to Greenland, a territory that Trump has repeatedly said he wishes to take over. Trump said on Saturday on social media he was working with the Louisiana governor and Greenland, Jeff Landry, to send a hospital boat to Greenland. Now, also this morning, new Dutch Prime Minister Jetten faces uphill task as a minority government installed. Rob Jetten became the youngest prime minister in Dutch history on Monday when his minority government was formally confirmed in power by King Willem Alexander. Jetten, who is 38, propelled his progressive pro-UD66 party to a surprising election victory last October in a polished and optimistic campaign. Let's take a look at business news. We start with finance. Family and friends overtake banks in lending to farmers. Formal lenders struggle with innovative agricultural financing. More borrowers favor informal sources despite bank financing policy stimulation. The key figure stands at 42% proportion of farmers in the survey who stepped up borrowing from family and friends. That story is augmented for you on page 23 of the Nation this morning. Briefly, in the real estate sector, U.S. investor sues developer over off-plan deal. A U.S. investor has sued a Nairobi property developer over 225 million shillings off-plan deal, alleging unfair termination after paying for 7 units in a project marketed as Nairobi's Icon. The claimant, identified as Mr. KYH, told the Environment and Land Court that he invested heavily in the development in October 2024 after it was promoted to diaspora buyers as a premium project with strong returns. In telco, Airtel Uganda raises dividend pay 41%. Airtel Uganda has raised its dividend payout by 41.5% to 0.41 shillings per share for the year ending December 2025 from 0.28 shillings a year. That is converted to Ugandan shillings, that comes to 7.7 shillings 8 cents after its profit grew by a similar margin on higher revenue from data sales. Now, also this morning, CIC issues profit alert after 1 billion gain in 2024. CIC Insurance Group has issued a profit warning for the year ended 2025, anticipating its net income to fall by at least 25% in the absence of a one-time investment property gain and higher claims. All right. From CIC, let's take a look at some sporting action. We jump into the field. We start with athletics. Grannies roll back the years, thrill Eldoret fans. Now, Athletics Kenya rolls out initiative to keep young people active. Runners from all walks of life turn up at Kasese for community races. Listen to this. Participants in a race for women aged 60 and above competed in the inaugural Athletics Kenya Cases Community cross-country 500 meters race held at Lelmolok Primary School grounds in Keses, Uasin Gishu County on Saturday. It's quite interesting, this one, you know, and you'll catch up with more of that on page 30. On page 31, Ghana's calm nerves as title race set to go down to the wire. Gunners eased their recent jitters with a 4-1 rout of Tottenham on Sunday. That story is on page 31 of the Nation this morning. And on the cover page, it's all about the FKF Premier League baptism by fire for Tuskers French coach Julien Met. Gor Mahia led standings after 21 rounds of matches, and what was meant to be a new start for the team in league on Saturday ended up being a title concession. That story is augmented for you on the cover page. And also on the cover page, athletics old rivalries, new battlefronts for Kenyan runners in New York half marathon race. Now, the New York half marathon promises to revive old rivalries and open new battlefronts when elite athletes compete on the streets of New York on March 5th. Fresh from her commanding victory in Sirikwa Classic World Athletics Cross Country Gold Tour, Agnes Jebet Ngetich heads the race full with the confidence of a youngster who has steadily built a reputation as one of Kenya's most exciting distance runners. So with that story of athletics, we come to the tail end of the morning momentum this 24th day of February 2026. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us and for choosing to watch the morning momentum. My name is Alphonce Ouma. See you on this same bulletin, on this same platform for the 1 p.m. bulletin later in the day. Until then, do have a beautiful day ahead of you. Bye bye for now.